For decades, Venezuela was the wealthiest democracy in Latin America. It sits on top of the largest known oil reserves in the world, powering a government that was once praised across the globe. Over the last few years, that wealth has evaporated. The country's GDP has plummeted 35%, a sharper economic contraction than the United States experienced during the Great Depression. This failure translates to immediate devastation on the ground. The country suffers from the highest inflation rate on the planet, making basic medicine and groceries inaccessible to the majority of the population. Citizens initially responded to this crisis at the ballot box. In December 2015, a coalition of opposition parties, called the MUD, secured a legally binding supermajority in the National Assembly, putting the ruling party at risk. The target of that anger is President Nicolas Maduro. Polling shows that 80% of Venezuelans want him removed from office. Curious town. By any conventional political logic, a ruined economy and near-universal public opposition should end a presidency. Yet, Maduro has survived. He has found a way to leverage the very collapse of his country to consolidate total authoritarian control. To understand how Maduro maintains his grip, we have to look at the system built by his predecessor. In the 2000s, Hugo Chavez used surging global oil profits to fund massive social welfare programs. He subsidized food and built a healthcare system that reduced the poverty rate by more than half. Chavez engineered a system where social spending was tethered to the volatile price of crude oil exports. He rigged the national economy to depend on those exports while maintaining an unrestrained deficit. That model was impossible to sustain if the market turned. Shortly after Maduro took office as Chavez's handpicked successor, global oil prices plummeted in 2014. The revenue vanished and the national budget failed. Without oil revenue to float the economy, hyperinflation took hold. The networks for food and medicine deteriorated, leaving 82% of the population in poverty. Chavez kept millions of citizens happy by spending freely. Maduro inherited the presidency but lost the money. Unable to buy the public's love, he had to find a different method to maintain power. If a leader cannot afford to buy the support of the voters, they must buy the loyalty of the military. Maduro achieved this through a manipulated currency scheme. On this side, you see the government's official exchange rate, set at 10 bolivars to $1. Only Maduro's political allies have access to this rate. For everyone else, the Venezuelan currency is worthless. Most people must rely on a black market rate that has reached 12,000 bolivars per US dollar. In 2016, Maduro gave the military control over the food supply. Generals import food using the cheap official exchange rate and then sell it on the black market to a desperate public. This hyperinflation provides the exact mechanism Maduro uses to pay for military loyalty. By maintaining a crisis that allows for massive black market profits, he ensures the generals keep him in power. With the armed forces secured, Maduro targeted the judiciary. He forced out several Supreme Court justices and filled the positions with loyalists. In 2016, that packed court moved to strip the opposition-led National Assembly of its powers. This triggered massive protests across the country, resulting in over 100 deaths and thousands of injuries. Despite the violence, Maduro pushed forward with an institutional takeover. He created a new governing body called the National Constituent Assembly to replace the existing legislature. This assembly was a sham. Unlike Chavez, who held a referendum on whether a new assembly should exist, Maduro forced an election where citizens could only choose the members. The opposition boycotted the vote, and experts believe the actual turnout was a fraction of what the government claimed. The purpose of this assembly was to rewrite the constitution, ensuring that no political opposition to Maduro's rule could legally exist. As soon as the Loyalist Assembly convened, it removed Attorney General Luisa Ortega and utilized armed groups to arrest other opposition leaders. Despite international condemnation and financial sanctions from the US, Canada, and others, the regime's internal grip remains unbroken. The starvation, the collapse, and the black markets are the lucrative pillars of this dictatorship. The government has built a system it has no incentive to fix, leaving the citizens of Venezuela trapped in a crisis that pays for its own survival.